the Build Idaho Podcast. For 18 years, we've been trying to bring you the best information about buying and building homes here in the Treasure Valley, and today we're going to have an exciting episode.
Hey everybody, I'm John Miniger. I'm the co-host. You know, today we're going to talk about title and escrow. We got to admit, that's not the most fun topic in the world, but it's all stuff we really need to know.
All stuff we have to get through.
Yeah, all stuff we've really got to know, right, Trey?
Let's talk about the funnest part of title and escrow.
The fun part?
The fun part.
Is there a fun part?
The best stories. Okay, the best stories. So we're going to do two things today. I want to let's introduce our guest first.
Today we got from Title I. We have the Vice President at Title I, Matt Carey. Matt Carey. Is that the last name? Carey?
Carey.
All right. Is that with a K or a C?
A C.
C.
Okay.
C.
So first of all, give us your full title.
Vice President of Title Operations and Underwriting Counsel.
So that sounds like a super fun, low stress, walk in, just wake up, have a great day every day. So tell us what that means. What is that job? What does that job entail?
It offers a lot of variety, I will tell you that. There are some days where it is nothing but underwriting legal issues, and that can be both from the title insurance side and the escrow side. And then there's other days that are filled with more process and procedure. I fully admit.
Sales guys love process and procedures. Oh my gosh. We can just do this all day.
Yeah. And throw in a little Department of Insurance regulations in there, so it makes for an exciting day.
Well, let's start off with some fun things. I have two questions for you to get this show rolling. What is the craziest thing you've seen, and what are some of the craziest scams that are going around, in particular Idaho? So what's the craziest thing you've seen?
Well, probably the craziest thing I'd seen right off the top of my head goes along with the scams that is going on. Seller impersonation is huge nationwide.
So explain what that means, because I know, but tell people.
Essentially, you have a fraudster, a scammer that is coming in and trying to sell somebody else's piece of property.
Does he live here, or is he out of the country?
Generally, they are out of state or out of the country.
Okay.
We had a situation, I won't say which county, but I mean, this guy took it to the 11th hour.
Wow.
Fake IDs, fake passports, everything was matching up. Documents were signed and notarized. Like I said, 11th hour, and we find something just was not was not adding up, and so we started really diving into it. Kind of found out, started looking at his ID and his passport, and amazingly enough, the picture was the exact same. I mean, hair was the same, his facial expression was the same, the clothes he was wearing was the same, so that was kind of like, okay, that something's not right here. Then we really started digging down, doing calling the notary who notarized it, found out that this notary's was actually on vacation when this had happened. Wow. And so she didn't actually notarize the documents. Her stamp was stolen. And again, this guy also was selling a piece of property in Idaho, supposedly lived in Texas, but was on vacation in Mexico at the time. Let's see what else. Would not sign documents via remote online notary. Wanted to use, as I said, his own notary. So all these red flags, and this specific situation was that we were involved in. Again, everything was clean up until about the 11th hour, and that's when we started fishing out all this.
So his goal is to rob the seller of all the money of this scam. It's just rob all the money.
That is exactly what this scam is. What these fraudsters are doing, they are looking for. A lot of times, this is happening on vacant land.
Right.
So unimproved land.
Let me just set this up a little bit for people. So you can access public information, figure out who owns the land.
Yep.
You can get all that organized. You can get your driver's license faked, all the things. And the way I've been told it works is they call an agent and they say, hey, I want to list my property. I've got this business deal. I need to close fast.
Yep.
I also don't want a sign in the yard because I don't want my neighbors knowing I'm selling. So no one really knows what's going on until we get to you.
Exactly, and most of the time these properties are there's no loan on them, so they're owned free and clear. So no payoffs have to be made, anything like that. And they generally will list the property for well below market value, and like you said, quick close. All these are red flags, and they're going on all over the nation. And we often think that we're in little old Idaho and it's not happening here. Oh, it's happening. It is happening here. Besides that major situation, we have had at Title I, at least in my knowledge, at least 5 or 6 attempts.
Yeah.
Do we get to catch this guy? Do we get to catch these people that are doing this?
I mean, we will turn the information we have over to the FBI, local law enforcement as well, and they will investigate as best they can. Generally, from what I have seen, haven't heard much come from that. Of course, we're out of the loop by then.
Yeah.
So if there's no attempted fraud is a lot different than the actual fraud
Yeah,
if it goes through. But I can tell you, I mean, these deals are going through nationally. I just spent 3 days at a Pacific Northwest Land Title Association conference, and underwriters are getting hit left and right nationally with these frauds, and they're huge. They're huge dollar amounts for claims.
Yeah.
This is giving me one of those stress circles right here in my forehead. I just can't imagine that happening.
Well,
it's unfortunately it is.
Yeah, just to reiterate, when you think there's a deal, there's a reason there's a deal, right? No one wants to undersell their property for full value.
And I will give full credit. Most of the situations that we have ran across here, they're being picked up early by the agents. Like the agents call us, say, something's not right with this.
Yeah, we've had one.
Yeah, so the agents are really doing an excellent job on vetting these. And when the hair on the back of your neck starts standing up that something's not right, there's a reason for that.
The other one I'm familiar with is the buyer sends a check in for too much money and says, just send me the difference.
Exactly. That's an oldie but a goodie.
Yeah.
And that's why we, as the title company, have to verify good funds and make sure that those funds clear before we would turn around and cut a check back. See that a lot with earnest money. The other big scam, of course, is another oldie but a goodie, but the wire fraud.
Wire fraud. Yeah, as agents, we tell the clients every time we get into a transaction, do not wire any money at all. Period.
Unless you're talking to the individual.
Talking to the individual that's on the other line.
Exactly. The spoofed emails have been a real problem, continue to be a problem.
So explain spoofed email for those that don't know.
I mean, that is generally what we're seeing and what other title insurers are seeing. Either it's an agent or, say, a buyer. A fraudster essentially can spoof their email, create a new email account that's close to that email account, and they frankly insert themselves into this conversation, and they will come in at the 11th hour and say, oh, I want my proceeds, or I want to go to this different account, so they will change wire instructions. And we as a title insurer, that's why we double verify everything.
Right.
And another huge red flag for us is if somebody's changing wire instructions at the 11th hour. But we're always calling and verifying that this person is who they say they are. This is the account that they want it to go to. So but it's that one. I mean, that's been going on for years, and it's still working.
Yeah.
So how long? I mean, you've been in the business. How long?
I have been in the title and escrow business specifically for about 20 years.
And this was happening 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, tell us a little bit about Title I and what Title I does to help people. Title and escrow. Let's talk about title and escrow.
Well, the basic function on the title side is we are deemed kind of the research side. We are researching the property, listing out any encumbrances, any possible issues that
What's an encumbrance?
Any matter that affects the property. Could be anything from an easement to an agreement, and then you have the monetary, any loans, any liens against the property. So we put together the title commitment, which is essentially a report of the property.
Right.
Saying that the title is clear, there's no
Exactly.
encumbrances on the title.
Exactly. Then we hand that over to escrow. Escrow works through, they process the file, they're getting payoffs for any monetary liens that affect the property, clearing it, and then of course you get to the most famous part, the closing table, signing the documents. Then you get to recording, and then the property changes hands.
Yeah.
So very, very simplistic overview
Very simplistic.
of title and escrow. And title insurance, I think a lot of people, what is it?
Well, they want to know why they got to pay for it. Why do they? Why do people got to buy title insurance?
You don't have to. I mean, just say you do not have to. Person does not have to have title insurance. I would advise against that, but you don't have to have it. To explain title insurance is probably the easiest thing is to explain what it is not. It is not casualty insurance. Most of us, when we think of insurance, we think of health insurance, car insurance. That is insurance that protects a person for events that happen in the future. Title insurance protects against events that have happened in the past.
Right.
Gotcha.
It verifies and ensures that you have clear title to that property. There is no one else out there that may claim an interest in your property. A lot of people may think, well, that doesn't sound overly important, or I would beg to differ in my 20 years and all the different claims that I've seen and worked through. It's also different in the fact it's bought right up front. It's a one-time payment. It is not monthly or biannually or annually payments like other insurance is.
It's not added on to their monthly payment.
No, it's just
paid
a
for at
one-time
closing.
fee at closing. Generally owner's policy generally paid by the seller. Lender's policies are paid by the borrower.
Yeah.
So it is a excellent investment for, in my opinion, not a lot of money, and it's like I said, it's not a
Peace of
recurring
mind.
fee. Yeah.
Peace of mind.
Let's
No
talk-
one wants to buy the property and find out, I actually don't get to keep it.
Exactly.
Let's talk about something a little bit more funny. I want to
Okay.
bring a little humor into this. So, tell us what closing is versus signing. So many people think they're going in and they're signing. Hey, I closed on my house. I signed. Big misnomer, right?
Yes. A buyer goes in and signs documents, signs their lender documents, their escrow documents. They walk out a lot of places. They could get a picture with a sign saying, "Hey, I bought my home." You haven't actually closed yet, as you said. The property will not officially change hands until the documents are recorded.
Which is usually 24 to 48 hours after somebody's signing.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, a lot of times you may have same day, sign and close, but a lot of times it's 2 to 3 days.
How does the title company actually take my signature and then give me the property? Does someone go down to the courthouse, or is it all electronic?
In this day and age, generally just about most counties all across the nation do electronic recording. So the documents are uploaded into a system, electronically sent to the county records. We will then print off a front page of that document with the recording stamp,
Right.
and then we mail them to the buyer. Or if it's a deed of trust, we mail that deed of trust to the lender.
Cool. Let's talk about a little earlier in the process. One of the functions of our agent is to help the client get under contract, and then normally there's earnest money.
Yes.
So normally in today's world, many times earnest money is given to the title company. So explain to us how someone could lose or have their money returned, and I know the title company is not
Oh boy, I've been waiting for this one. I deal with this issue weekly, honestly.
Wow.
Title companies,
Yeah.
we are neutral third parties. We are not parties to the contract between the buyer and the seller. It is not our position to interpret the terms of that contract and who may or may not be in default of it. So when we get emails, the deal canceled, buyer wants the earnest money back. That is why every title company requires mutually signed instructions. Because it is not our place to say, okay, the buyer canceled the file within their due diligence period. They have a right. It is according to the contract. We're playing lawyer then. And that is not our position as a title company. And I know it frustrates agents, it frustrates buyers and sellers, and I get it.
Yeah.
I get it, but if we start deciding who should and should not get the earnest money, we really put a heavy amount of liability on ourselves.
And I don't think consumers hear this, but contracts can get wonky easily.
Very easily.
I mean, if your agent doesn't understand the words they're writing, or they can be interpreted a different way, it can get wonky fast.
Very much so. And that is, not only for earnest money, but just about anything else. That's why title companies generally always require the famous statement, mutually signed instructions. Yeah. We want to be told, we want to be instructed how to act.
Yeah, wonky is the scientific term for all this.
Sideways.
Exactly.
I got another funny question for you. Everybody wants to know, what are all those Volkswagen Beetles doing running around town that say Title I? What do they do?
Well, the Beetles have been put to bed. It's now the Subarus.
I didn't know that.
Subarus.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So what are all these Subarus doing running around town says Title I?
They are our amazing, phenomenal delivery folks.
Yeah.
We love it when they come here.
Dropping off documents, dropping off checks. They're an amazing group. They do an amazing job, and it is funny. Before I came to Title I, everybody knows the Beatles. My wife wanted one of those Beatles, so it's great brand recognition.
It is great brand recognition. Everybody knows the cars. Boom. Although I hadn't realized they changed to Subaru. I didn't know that. I'm slow.
It's only been, a couple years probably since we switched them out, maybe a year and a half.
Okay, so not too slow then, that's good. All right, John, one more question for Matt.
Matt, if you had to pick the perfect agent, what would the perfect agent look like for you in a titles world?
I always appreciate the agents that read their title commitment.
Yeah.
I mean, they do their job.
Well, I'm not saying that.
Although they're hard to read.
They are hard to read, but that is why agents need to know there are so many resources at Title I or whatever title company they use to help them go through that if they have questions. But there's so much information in there and so many issues that could be caught early as opposed to being caught at the closing table. I don't know how many times over the years I've had the situation come up where our vested owner on a commitment, we get to the closing table or a couple days before the buyer or seller signing, find out the seller's dead. That's an issue that could have been worked through a month previous when the title commitment was generated. So first and foremost, a great agent to me is reading their title commitment, and if they have questions, reach out. That's what our title and escrow people are for. And just
it's the details that will kill a deal fast,
without a doubt, and
or make it very complicated.
Exactly, and knowing what your buyer wants to use that property for. Most property, obviously, lot block in a subdivision, 1 to 4 family residential. There's not too many issues with that. But if you've got a buyer that's buying 10 acres and they want to put a shop on it or a barn. Really going through that title commitment and making sure that there might not be any easements that may affect. I've seen so many times over the years in that sort of situation where somebody wants to put in a pool and there might be a utility easement running across the back of this parcel that won't allow them to build that shop or barn or put in that pool where they want to. And so that the use for that property is now diminished for that buyer. So again, asking questions, looking at the documents. I mean, Title I, we always hyperlink every exception. So being able to really, comb through that and know the use that your buyer wants the property for.
Okay, most people don't understand how complex title, in particular real estate transactions, can be, because when a good agent makes it look simple, they're all like, well, this was easy. How many transactions, and this is a huge vague question, right? Just vague, but how many transactions have a little problem?
Oh boy.
Well, that means it's a lot.
It's funny you ask that question because it's almost dependent on the market.
Oh.
When it's inevitable. When we agents, title companies, lenders, when we're in a hot market, it's funny how there don't seem to be a lot of problems.
Sins can be forgiven.
But the moment the market starts dipping a little bit, that's when we start seeing a lot more issues.
People paying attention.
Exactly. I would say maybe a quarter of files
Really?
may have, and when you say problems, there's different variations of problems. Some are
Not level 10.
Some are minuscule. Others can be monumental. Deal breaking. But I mean, a deceased seller is that happens a lot. That's that for some people that could be a massive problem, but for others, if the estate's been probated or is getting ready to be probated, it's not an issue. It can be worked through.
Right.
So, but I would say there's probably 25% of deals at least have a little bit of hair on them to make them a little funky.
Wonky is
the word.
All right, here's my last question. You've been doing this for quite a while. What have you learned about business and title companies and people over the last 20 years?
I have been blessed in the 20 years that I've had some different roles to where I've seen all angles of a title company, not only from a title and escrow side, but from a operation side, a business operations, to see how they function. So I've been very blessed about that. Looking back, even 10 years ago, how far I've come in my knowledge in this industry is amazing. I enjoy this business. I think at the end of the day, we really have to center on the fact of, people are purchasing likely the largest asset they will ever own.
Correct.
And that's big. I mean, that's big, and especially the first-time home buyers. I remember when I was a first-time home buyer, there is an excitement and a pride in that just doesn't. You can't duplicate that.
Right.
So I think when we can get into kind of a rut and just kind of get beaten down by this industry, I think trying to keep that in mind of what we are a part of. Home ownership, one of the true tenets of the American dream. And I think that by focusing on that, I think can keep us all going.
That is a great way to end this. That was amazing. Good job. Wow. I wasn't expecting that answer. That was fantastic. All right.
Well, like always, we'd like to say thank you to everybody for joining the Build Idaho podcast today. Thanks to Matt Carey from Title I to come over and tell us all about title and escrow. We tried to make it as fun as we could today. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, hit that subscribe button, and share. As always, thank you.
Thank you.